So let's see, let's get back to where we were. We were talking about, we talked about motivational appeals, okay? And there are really cool sample outlines here for you, by the way. And these are very, very detailed outlines. I don't actually expect you to do outlines like that for yourself, but this is the reason why they're included here is to show you of what the speech can look like. I mean, this is a beautifully done, masterfully structured speech. It's not complicated that you can't understand it. You can really follow it along, but it's just showing you how to do it, you know. And I think it's really well done. So you could see, like for introduction, they're just very, very brief introduction, and then you go into the body, and it's all broken up into little points. You don't have to do it like that for yourself. Most of your speeches are not even that long, but these are good examples. Okay. So let's get back to the delivery of your speech to inform. Okay. As we have mentioned before, as a speaker, a person who is speaking to inform, one of your primary goals is to get the information, but not just information. You have to explain things to people. You have to make it clear. You have to illustrate it. They have to receive the information packaged by you, and that's what makes it special. That's what makes it unique. And with this, you have the challenge of being coherent. You have to make sense. You have to stay focused. You have to keep their focus, because it's very easy for people to tune out and focus on something else. And you have to make it relevant to them. Otherwise, they're not going to listen to it. And this is where setting up your introduction is very, very important, and kind of catching people early on with your topic and making them say, you know, I want to listen to that. I want to hear. This is interesting. This is curious. So creating curiosity is the next section right here in our chapter on page 197, and that is actually one of the very difficult things to do. I'll be honest with you. Most people, even experienced speakers, struggle with this particular part. Creating curiosity in somebody. And here's the problem. What can I talk about that you don't already know something about? Most of the time people hear about something and they're like, oh, I know about that. Oh, I know about that. Oh, I know about that. Whatever I say, whatever I'm going to teach you, whatever I'm going to explain, you can say, oh, I know about that. Maybe you don't know everything there is to know about that, but that's okay. But most of the time you say, I know about that and I don't care. I'm not interested. That's not relevant to me. So the trick for me, or for anybody speaking out there, is to create a curiosity where you can say, yeah, I do know about that, but what this person is saying, I don't know, and I think that's going to help me. Or, yeah, I know you know about that, but I bet you don't know this, and that changes everything. You see what I mean? It's like making it curious, making it interesting, kind of pulling you in to this discussion is what a job of a speaker is. And that's a very, very hard job. So you have to be sort of creative of how to do that. Most people struggle with that, I'll be honest with you. It's not an easy task, and there's not one way to do it. It's not like I can tell you, all right, here's a simple way of doing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not like that. Every audience is different, every topic is different, everything is becoming very fluid once you change the trajectory of how you're going to go about that speech. So, but it is essential to create a curiosity. And you create a curiosity in your beginning, in the introduction. That's when you create your curiosity. So the central idea is very important, and then your intro creates that curiosity. And if people listen to you, whatever you're talking about, a lot of times, as I said, they already know about something that you're talking about. Anything that you're going to talk about, they say, I know about it. And so the second challenge here is take that prior knowledge that they have. Figure out how much does your audience know about whatever it is that you want to talk about, and build on that, but take their knowledge to the next level. That's what speeches to inform do. They take you from where you are a little bit further. Sometimes a tiny bit, sometimes a lot. Doesn't really matter. But the point is they move you forward into an area that you do not know, from the area you know. And as I said, that's a very effective way of building a speech, because you're basing on something a person already knows about. So you're affirming your audience. I know you know about this. I know you know about this. I know you know, well, you don't know this part right here. And that makes a big difference, or that changes everything, or that creates, an aspect that you can become better now in this area. So most of the time, if people find information that you're presenting to them personally relevant, they'll find it interesting. If it's not relevant, it's not interesting. Like, why do I spend so much time trying to explain to you why a speech class is important? Because I want you to understand that everything in your life you're going to do, you're going to communicate. And speaking is one way of communicating, and writing is related to speaking. And these are interconnected ideas. And if you learn how to communicate well, then you will get along in life and you'll do well in life. If you fail in that, you'll fail in pretty much anything you do in life, because communication is the key. You can't live without communicating. And communicating well is essential. So that's why I spend so much time trying to get that, through people's heads, that public speaking is a very practical, useful course. Now, as you explain a concept or idea, we've already mentioned repetition. Repetition is key. Why would you repeat yourself? Because something may not be clear. Something may need to be demonstrated. Sometimes you may have to give a definition, explain something a little bit further. And it's okay if you're just giving people simple facts. You may not need to repeat them. But if you're giving people a series of facts and then you want them to make a conclusion based on the facts, you may have to repeat it multiple times. Okay? This is where comprehension of your audience is necessary, and you want to ensure that comprehension, therefore repetition becomes the tool. And so also consider repeating your main idea. Whatever your main point, your central idea, you want to repeat that multiple times, and you also want to repeat your points sometimes more than once, or at least reiterate them in the words that's a little bit different, okay? And that increases your audience focus, and it increases clarity. Involving your listeners is another great technique. A lot of times I ask you questions in class, okay? There's a reason why I ask you questions. Now, first of all, I am trying to change your knowledge, check your knowledge. I am trying to figure out what you guys are, whether you know something or not, so I do that on purpose. But another reason why I'm trying to ask questions in class is because I'm trying to involve you in this process. Because this is not just me speaking at you. I want your participation in class. I want you to be in on our conversation. We're having a conversation about public speaking, and even though I may be the main speaker, I still want to hear from you. And if I don't hear from you, I get frustrated, because I'm like, I don't know if they care, if they're not interested, or if they're asleep, or they're thinking about their grocery, shopping experience after they're done with this. I don't know. So for me, it's important to involve an audience whenever I am speaking. A lot of times when I feel that the audience is a safe audience, I know the audience well enough, I will ask questions. I will throw out challenges to my audience, and I will expect for them to somehow respond. I'm asking for feedback. I love feedback, and pulling an audience in, asking their opinion, getting them to participate is actually a very effective way of making your speech stick, making it more powerful. Let's see. Organizational plan, organizational pattern is another aspect. We've talked a little bit about how you can organize your speeches. Remember, we talked about geographical organization, chronological organization, topical organization, like all these different ways of organizing your speech. So how you organize your speech, again, you want to custom tailor it to your audience. If your audience needs a particular method of organizing it, then you do that. So your effectiveness is going to change depending on how well you organize your speech. If you have great speech, great content, great ideas, but you organize it in the wrong way, it's going to fall flat, okay? There are multiple channels, as the authors define, that you can employ in this speech. And you can employ, for example, verbal and visual materials. So as you're speaking, you're giving people a visual aid. You're saying something about it, but then you're also demonstrating it. Or you're writing on the board. Or you're giving them some sort of an example and a demonstration. Maybe you take out a picture and show them a picture. Maybe I take out my wallet and pull out a $20 bill and show it in my hands. And all of a sudden, you are pulled in by a visual aid. So you can coordinate what you're saying with something that you're doing. And that's a very effective tool. And then you can also change your rate. We talked about that. How fast you speak or how slow you speak, depending on how much you want people to pay attention. Generally speaking, fast is okay when people are familiar with what you're saying. They already kind of sort of know what you're saying. But when it's brand new, you might want to slow it down because you want that to sink in. So changing your rate, and also sometimes the effectiveness of your speech depends on how many people there are in the audience. Imagine I'm giving a speech about something small and technical, and I can't show it to you. I really need to show it to you, but I can't show it to you. Let's talk about, I talk about diamond clarity grading or something like that. And I say, you know, diamonds have colors. And I can say, see, you know, and then that little thing right here, you can't see it from that far away. So I gotta get it to you. I may have to enlarge it. I may have to show it to you in large scale or something like that. And if it's technical information or it's information that's not easily seen, I may need to enlarge it for a large audience. For a small audience, not a problem. Maybe I can do that. But for a huge group, I may need to make this huge and blow it up and show you a big picture. And then you can get involved. So a lot of times what works with a small crowd doesn't work with a large crowd, and vice versa. What works with a large crowd does not work with a small crowd. For example, if you're giving a speech and there's like 5 people in a room, making a formal presentation seems kind of silly, unless it's like some boardroom and these are some big bosses sitting over there. It's very silly to make it formal. If it's just a few people in a room. If there's just a few people in a room standing behind a podium, sometimes kind of seems silly. Okay, classroom, different story, but a lot of times like you have a small room standing right here and having all your audience sitting far, far away, and here you are standing right here. It's again, it doesn't work. So you gotta adjust based on the size, and that also changes the dynamic of your speech delivery. Sometimes people do suggest additional resources. In informative speeches, a lot of times people would say, well, I can't tell you everything I wanted to tell you about this because I only have this many minutes, but go to www.breastcancercure.com or something like that. And boom, you're there. Because what happens is I'm going to give you more information to follow up. And this is a great way to close your speech, by the way. All right, you've made your points, you've clarified your ideas, you've clarified your information, and I say, you know what? The great thing, everything I said, you can find here, and give people a web address that they can go to and learn about it. And then somebody in the audience who's wondering about this know exactly where to go to follow up. So giving people handouts, giving them a website, giving them some sort of an address, or saying, guess what, after the meeting, I'm going to email all of you my notes. This is a way of getting sort of say certain amount of traction with your message, whatever your message may be. All right, so suggesting additional resources, that's what I mean about that. There's multiple ways you can do that. All right, so you do have some more outlines over here that are excellent for your speech, and that pretty much concludes our chapter. I'm hoping that you're finding these outlines helpful. You actually have one speech completely manuscripted over here, which I definitely suggest reading because it's a great, well done, kind of structured, well structured speech. The one about geisha. So that's a really good one.